It was Christmas Eve, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia. Snow had fallen earlier that week, dusting the town in white. In the home of George and Jennie Sodder, the scent of pine and warm food filled the air. Lights twinkled on the tree, and the sound of laughter echoed through the house as 9 of the Sodder children prepared for bed. That night, the world seemed at peace, filled with comfort and the glow of the holidays. But by dawn, 5 of those children would vanish forever. Their disappearance would spark one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries in American history, one that remains unanswered to this day. George and Jennie Sodder were Italian immigrants who had built a good life in Fayetteville. George owned a successful trucking business. They were a tight, knit family with 10 children, 9 living at home, and were respected members of their community. The Sodders had recently celebrated their oldest son returning from the war, and on Christmas Eve, the younger children begged to stay up late, excited to open presents and enjoy the festivities. Jennie agreed, as long as they remembered to turn off the lights and lock the doors before heading to bed. Around 10:30 p.m., Jennie took the youngest child, 2-year-old Sylvia, and went to bed. George and the older sons had already retired. The rest of the children, Morris, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jennie, 8, and Betty, 5, stayed up in the living room. The house settled into quiet sleep, but shortly after midnight, strange things began to happen. Jennie was awakened by a loud thud on the roof, followed by what she described as a rolling sound. Moments later, she noticed the lights were still on downstairs, and the curtains hadn't been drawn, things the children had promised to do. She went to check, but found no one in the living room. Assuming they had gone up to the attic, where the younger children often slept, she turned off the lights, locked the door, and returned to bed. At around 1:00 a.m., the phone rang. Jennie answered, and a woman asked for someone who didn't live there. In the background, she heard laughter and clinking glasses. When she told the caller they had the wrong number, the woman laughed strangely and hung up. Jennie went back to bed, unsettled. Just a short while later, she awoke again, this time to the smell of smoke. Flames were crawling up the walls from George's office. She screamed for her husband and children. George and 4 of the children escaped, but the 5 younger children who had stayed up, Morris, Martha, Louis, Jennie, and Betty, were nowhere to be found. George tried to reach them. He climbed a ladder he kept by the house, but it was missing. He tried to drive his truck closer to the window to climb on top, but it wouldn't start. The phone line had been cut. There was no way to reach help. By the time firefighters arrived hours later, the house was in ruins. Authorities said the children had died in the fire. The blaze, they claimed, had cremated their bodies completely, but Jennie and George didn't believe it. There were no bones in the ashes, no signs of remains. Jennie tested this theory by burning small animal bones in a fire. They never disintegrated. How could 5 human bodies leave nothing behind? The funeral was held, but the caskets were empty. Grief turned to suspicion. Too many things didn't add up. The missing ladder was later found tossed down an embankment. A man was spotted stealing tools from George's truck the night of the fire. A woman claimed she saw the children in a car driving away that night. Another witness said they saw them peering from a window in Charleston the next day. The Sodders began to believe something sinister had happened, something planned. George had made enemies. He was outspoken against Mussolini and fascism and had received threats. One man even warned him that his house would go up in smoke and his children would be destroyed. Another visitor looking for work had pointed out a fuse box, saying it would cause a fire someday. Odd, because George had just had the wiring inspected and approved. Despite mounting questions, authorities closed the case. The official report claimed the fire was accidental, but the Sodders refused to accept it. They launched their own investigation, hiring private detectives, placing ads in newspapers, and offering a reward of $5,000, later raised to $10,000 for any information. The case attracted nationwide attention. In 1950, a billboard was erected along Route 16. displaying the photos of the 5 missing children and the haunting question: what was their fate? Kidnapped, murdered, or are they still alive? The billboard stayed up for nearly 40 years, becoming a symbol of the family's relentless search for answers. Sightings came in. A woman in St. Louis claimed to have seen the children with a strange family. A hotel owner in Charleston said he saw them a week after the fire. A letter arrived from someone claiming to be Louis, one of the missing children, now an adult. It contained a photo and cryptic message. Investigators couldn't confirm its authenticity. The photo was displayed in the Sodder home for years, the boy's eyes hauntingly similar to George's. Theories spiraled. Some believed the children had been taken by an organized crime ring. Others thought they were sold to a childless couple. Some suspected they had been taken overseas. One theory pointed to child trafficking, that someone used the chaos of the fire to snatch the children and vanish. But no evidence could prove any of it. Strangely, the fire itself burned too fast, too hot for a typical house fire. Witnesses said it looked more like an explosion. Experts disagreed with the idea that it could consume 5 bodies so completely without leaving a trace. One firefighter later admitted the investigation had been rushed. The site had been bulldozed just days after the fire, potentially destroying key evidence. The Sodders never stopped searching. George drove across states following leads. Jennie wore black for the rest of her life. They rebuilt their home on the same lot, turning it into a shrine to their missing children. Inside, they kept files, maps, clippings, anything that might bring them closer to the truth. In 1969, George died, never knowing what happened. Jennie followed in 1989. Their remaining children carried on the search, but by then the trail had gone cold. The fire had taken more than just a house. It had taken time, hope, and the sense of safety the family once knew. Today, the case remains officially unsolved. The lot where the house once stood is quiet, overgrown. The billboard is gone, but the mystery remains. How could 5 children vanish in the night with no trace? Why did so many things go wrong at once? The missing ladder, the dead truck, the cut phone line. Was it really just coincidence, or was something darker at play? Even after decades, the case continues to haunt investigators and armchair detectives alike. People still write about it, post theories online, and visit the site hoping to feel a connection. The names Morris, Martha, Louis, Jennie, and Betty are etched in history now, their fate unknown. Some believe they lived, grew up unaware of their past, perhaps brainwashed or threatened. Others think they were taken and silenced. No one truly knows. What's most chilling is how a seemingly normal Christmas Eve turned into a nightmare. A house, a fire, a phone call, and then silence. It's the kind of story that digs into your bones, the kind that keeps you up at night, wondering how such a thing could happen. How 5 children could simply vanish, as if the earth swallowed them whole. The story of the Sodder children is more than a mystery. It's a wound that never healed, a question left unanswered, and perhaps the most disturbing part is this: if it could happen to them, it could happen to anyone. In the quiet darkness of a winter night, when all seems safe sometimes, the unimaginable finds its way in.